Okay, so picture this for a moment. Think about walking into an Indian market maybe, I don't know, 100 years back. The sheer variety of rice.
Right.
It's hard to even imagine now.
Absolutely. Not just, white or brown. You'd see deep reds, these amazing shimmering black grains, earthy colors.
Right. And each one with its own texture, its own uh, distinct aroma, flavors from sort of subtly sweet to really intensely nutty.
Each one perfect for a certain dish, a specific region. It said there were something like, well, potentially 15,000 different kinds. Some even say maybe far, far more historically.
15,000. And today,
Yeah.
well, today we're looking at a tiny fraction of that, maybe, what, 140 varieties actively grown.
Yeah.
It's a staggering loss.
It really is. It's like a huge library just reduced to one single shelf, all the books looking the same.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's more than just numbers, isn't it? It's about our connection to this grain. Rice in India, it's woven into everything.
Culture, history.
Yeah, from the Ganges Plains down to the Tamil Nadu coast, it's been the backbone,
Yeah.
for millennia. Food historian K.T. Achaya talks about this, how deeply rooted it is.
These old varieties, they weren't just grains, they had personalities. Yeah. Like quirky cousins at a reunion, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Each one adapted, honed by local conditions, local tastes.
Like Joha rice from Assam, still known for that incredible smell.
Oh, absolutely. Or Harin Kajli from West Bengal, apparently packed with iron.
Okay.
Just unbelievable amounts.
Right. These weren't just crops. They were almost like heirlooms, passed down farmer to farmer.
Carefully selected, nurtured, each with a purpose.
And then something shifted dramatically. The whole landscape changed.
It did. The big turning point really was the Green Revolution back in the 1960s.
Ah, right. The promise was huge, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tackling food shortages head on.
Exactly. India was facing, a very real threat of famine. So these new high-yielding varieties, HYVs they called them.
Like IR8, wasn't that the famous one? Miracle rice?
That's the one. And look, in terms of sheer production, it worked. These new types could produce way more rice on the same amount of land, sometimes 10 times more.
10 times.
Yeah. It transformed India from needing food imports to actually exporting rice. Production figures shot up like 37 million tons in 67, up to over 77 million by the mid-90s.
So, okay, on paper, a massive success story. Solved the immediate crisis.
It did, but there was a catch. These miracle grains, they were needy.
Needy. How so? They weren't like the old ones then, the resilient ones.
Not at all. They needed the whole package. Chemical fertilizers, pesticides, constant reliable irrigation, a world away from traditional varieties that could often handle tough conditions with much less fuss.
Ah, I see. So farmers had to change everything.
Pretty much. And understandably, they wanted those higher yields. Who wouldn't? So the focus shifted. Everyone started chasing the high yield.
And the old seeds, the heirlooms, they got pushed aside.
Gradually, yes. They started abandoning them. That promise of yield was just too strong. We saw that drop you mentioned, 15,000, down to maybe 7,000 by the 90s.
And now, only around 140 actively cultivated, just
Yeah.
gone.
It's like trading this incredibly rich, diverse ecosystem for, well, a monoculture. Efficient in one way, maybe, but you lose so much resilience, so much character.
And not just character, right? There were nutritional downsides,
Oh,
too.
definitely. Studies, even recent ones, show these modern varieties often have like 19 to 45% less of key nutrients.
That's calcium, iron, zinc,
It was-
essentials.
Exactly. And when you think back to those older types, like the Harin Kajli you mentioned, apparently loaded with iron.
Some had like 130, 140 milligrams per kilo. Things like Dude Bolta and Julie.
Yeah, figures like that. Compared to modern rice, it's a huge difference. We're growing more bulk, perhaps, but it might actually be less nourishing overall.
That's worrying, isn't it? Especially when rice is such a staple for so many people.
It's a massive public health issue waiting to happen, or already happening. Think about iron deficiency, especially common in women. Or zinc, vital for kids' immunity.
And this wasn't really intended, was it? It was just focus on yield above all else.
Pretty much an unintended consequence, yeah.
Hmm.
Soil scientists point this out. Plus, you lose all the other benefits. Some traditional rice had medicinal uses in Ayurveda. Others were packed with antioxidants, like black rice.
Right. So beyond just the high yield hype, what else pushed these old varieties out?
Well, several things working together, really. There was that societal pressure, adopt the modern way, be progressive.
Okay, so a cultural push.
Definitely. Then market forces. Big mills, distributors,
Oh.
they love uniformity. Makes processing and selling easier.
Easier than dealing with hundreds of different quirky grains.
Exactly. These HYVs were perfect for that industrial scale. Traditional varieties, not so much.
Makes sense.
And then there's the whole seeds situation. Traditionally, farmers saved their own seeds, right? They were independent.
Keepers of their own genetic banks, in a way.
Precisely. But HYVs, you often have to buy new seeds every year, usually from big companies. So farmers lost that autonomy, and the local seed-saving traditions weakened.
Okay, so reliance on corporations instead of community knowledge.
Yeah. Plus, environmentally, HYVs often need perfect conditions. They're not as tough. Native varieties evolved to handle local stresses, drought, floods, salty soil.
Which is becoming more important now with climate change, I guess.
Absolutely critical. And finally, just lifestyle changes, convenience. Some traditional rice takes longer to cook, needs specific prep. People got busier, maybe less interested.
Wow. It's a complex web, isn't it? Yield, market, seeds, environment, culture. All pushing in one direction.
It really paints a picture of how this massive diversity just eroded away.
And you mentioned climate change. That link seems really important now. These traditional varieties had built-in resilience, didn't they?
They really did an incredible genetic toolkit for adaptation. You find varieties documented that could handle drought, others that survive floods. There's even one, Cassava 6.
The Saba 6.
Yeah, bred by crossing modern rice with a wild relative. It's remarkably tolerant to salty conditions. Think how valuable that is with rising sea levels.
Invaluable, surely. And the HYVs, what's their environmental footprint like?
Well, it can be significant. They often need huge amounts of water, contributing to groundwater depletion. Punjab is a major example.
Right, I've read about the water table issues there.
And the reliance on nitrogen fertilizers. That releases nitrous oxide, which is a really potent greenhouse gas. Way worse than CO2, molecule for molecule.
Oof. And methane from the paddies themselves.
That too. Flooded paddies are a big source of methane. So the whole system, while boosting yield, brought these environmental costs.
And climate change itself, rising temperatures, weird monsoons, hits these less resilient HYVs harder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I saw something about heat waves in Punjab recently.
Exactly. A 2022 study linked heat waves directly to lower rice production and quality issues. It shows the vulnerability of relying on such a narrow genetic base. These HYVs need things just right.
Whereas the old varieties held this huge reservoir of traits like natural insurance.
Precisely. Insurance against shocks, against change, a resource we kind of sidelined.
But it's not all doom and gloom, is it? I get the sense there's a fight back happening, a revival.
Yes, and that's the really hopeful part of this whole story. There's a growing resistance, you could say. Farmers, scientists, food lovers, they're all getting involved.
Like who? What's happening on the ground?
Well, take the Forum for Indigenous Agricultural Movement, FIEM, in West Bengal. They're actively hunting down old heirloom varieties like Kali, Bahurupi.
Bring them back from the brink.
Yeah, and setting up community seed banks, promoting organic methods. You hear young farmers there, like Tanmay Das, actually challenging that old idea that hybrids always yield more, especially long-term for soil health.
That's fantastic. Challenging the narrative.
And you see official recognition, too, like Johar rice in Assam getting a GI tag, geographical indication.
Ah, like champagne or Darjeeling tea. Protects its origin and quality.
Exactly. Helps promote it, recognizes its uniqueness. There are efforts to popularize all its, 43 different varieties.
43 types of Joha alone.
Wow.
And then you have incredible individuals. Dr. Debal Deb in Odisha, people call him a seed warrior. He's saved over 1,000 rare rice types in his own seed bank.
1,000. One person.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And his research often shows these traditional types, like Harn Kudgley again, actually outperform modern rice nutritionally. He's proving their value.
These are like sparks of hope, aren't they? Keeping the flame alive.
Definitely. And it's reaching cities, too. Groups like the Buffalo Back Collective in Bengaluru hold rice festivals.
Rice festivals. What happens there?
They showcase varieties like Gobindphog, Kataribhog, let people taste them, learn the stories. People like Shivani Unakar talk about how rice isn't just food. It's tied to identity, heritage.
Connecting consumers back to that diversity, that seems crucial.
It really is, rebuilding that appreciation, that demand.
So if we want to build on this momentum, this revival,
Right.
What's the game plan? What needs to happen?
It's got to be a mix of things. First, definitely scale up support for those community seed banks. They're the guardians. Makes sense. Keep the source material safe.
Then government policies. We need real incentives for farmers to grow heirloom rice. Subsidies maybe, better market access.
More GI tags for regional specialties.
Yes, absolutely. And policies like the one in Bihar, where they prioritize buying parboiled rice that supports traditional practices.
Okay. Policy levers. What about consumers?
Education is key. We need to get the word out about the flavor, the nutrition, maybe get top chefs involved, food influencers. Imagine seeing these grains on MasterChef or something.
Ah, that would definitely raise their profile. Put Gobin Vlog center stage.
Why not? And we need to blend the best of both worlds, use modern science with traditional farmer knowledge, develop resilient, nutritious varieties based on those strong heirloom traits.
Like the Gasaba 6 example, crossing old and new.
Exactly, and promote farming practices that are better for the climate. Things like alternate wetting and drying for paddies uses less water, cuts methane,
Right, climate-smart agriculture.
and maybe, just maybe, rethink some trade policies, like export bans on non-basmati white rice. Do they hurt farmers growing traditional pipes? It needs looking at.
It sounds like a really comprehensive approach, not just saving seeds, but rebuilding the whole ecosystem around them. Policy, markets, consumers, science.
That's the goal. It
Yeah.
has to be holistic if we want to see a real, lasting resurgence.
It's a story then of significant loss, no doubt about that, but also one of real hope, of active restoration.
It really is. It makes you think, doesn't it? The next time you have rice, maybe pause and consider, where did this come from? What's its story?
Yeah. What diversity might it represent, or what diversity might have been lost to bring that particular grain to your plate?
Hmm.
And it leaves you with a question, doesn't it? For a country like India, just bursting with diversity in every other way, culture, language, food, does it make sense to have such a limited choice when it comes to something so fundamental as rice?
It feels like a mismatch somehow.
So maybe the final thought for everyone listening is this. What are we missing out on? What incredible flavors, what nutritional power, what climate resilience could we unlock by truly embracing and reclaiming the full, amazing spectrum of India's rice heritage for our plates, for our health, and, for the planet too?